Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I'm Gary, your host. This is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. And this time, I want to take a look at this issue of Brothers of the Spear. This is issue number 16 from 1975 from Gold Key Comics. And at this time, it was a quarterly title. Now, but before we get into that, I want to remind you my books are available. There's Bizarre Brain Comics Anthology, and Bizarre Brain Comics Presents Heroes. Both available online, $7.99 each, at Barnes & Noble or Amazon, Barnes & Noble online stores, and other online booksellers. And I appreciate everyone who has gotten theirs. As you can see, it says some superhero stuff, mainstream superhero type stuff. The other is some humor with a little bit of adventure in there. And thank you so much. So here we have Brothers of the Spear, number 16. It is written by Gaylord Dubois with art by Dan Spiegle. And I talk about Dan Spiegle a lot. I just mentioned him twice in recent weeks. And Brothers of the Spear was a backup feature in Gold Key's Tarzan comics, starting in the Dell book era, before Dell and Gold Key broke off, in the Dell books, and later in the Gold Key version. And it was owned, the title was owned by the publishers, it was not an Edgar Rice Burroughs property. It was created by Gaylord Dubois and Jesse Marsh, first appearing in Tarzan number 25 in 1951 and running through 156 in 1966. And Russ Manning did some of his first comics work on the feature starting in 52. And the backup ended its run when Russ Manning took over the Tarzan title. That was after the death of Jesse Marsh. And it made an occasional reappearance, as a backup and filler, basically. After the loss of the Tarzan license, Brothers of the Spear started its own title, running from 72 to 75, for a total of 17 issues. Gaylord Dubois wrote the series with art by Jesse Santos for the first 12 issues, and then it was taken over by Dan Spiegle. Did I say Jesse Santos? That's what I meant to say. Jesse Santos, not Jesse Marsh, if I said that. Jesse Santos for the first 12 issues. Then taken over by Dan Spiegle. And the Brothers of the Spear, they are lifelong friends, Danelle and Ntongo, who are royalty, the princes and later kings of neighboring African kingdoms in an unspecified time period. And what is really unusual here is because it's supposed to, they're fictional African kingdoms. But one of them is black and one of them is white. And Danelle is blonde. It's like, where do you get a country of blonde white people in Africa who had been there for obviously generations? Because and their technology is the same as the surrounding tribesmen. So it's not like they were a colonial group. So, and it's lots of good jungle adventure, and I like Dan Spiegle's work, especially he was best in his days doing Korok, son of Tarzan. But he was good for everything. I've talked about him so many times, from Lost in Space to Roger Rabbit. And his stuff was always good. So here we start off from the Raiders' Roost. And we see this is in the country of Abazulu. That's Danel's country. And here comes a woman riding on a mule. Fast. It's Queen Zulina of Tungelu. She is the wife of Danel's friend Natongo, because they are brothers of the spear. And she's got an emergency message for the king. She races up, and Danel is awakened in the middle of the night for Zulina, and she tells that some of their villages have been raided. People have been captured and hauled off in as slaves, and by strange men who ride water buffaloes. And Natongo and a small group of his warriors have gone in pursuit. So Danel will get a group of his warriors, and they take off in pursuit, and they wind up meeting up here at the river. One thing that's kind of funny is their main beast of burden are mules, but they never mention or seem to have horses or donkeys. And you need horses and donkeys to get mules. So anyway, so they meet up, compare notes, and keep the warriors back up. They've tracked the warriors to this lake, to this river, and keep their own few warriors behind to meet up with the main army that's coming up behind them, while the kings go off scouting. Well, they get scout, and they see the buffalo tracks, and they follow it and climb up. They're captured. They climb up a tree and they are captured when guardsmen on the water buffaloes spot them. So they're captured, put on water buffaloes, and they're all followed on with the main group who has all the other prisoners, primarily women. And so they follow on. There's a hidden path through this mountain, and they come out on the other side, and it's a gorge, and with a river running through it, and on an island right in the middle of the river is a fortified city. And so that the river acts as a natural moat. So they go inside, and they're met by their Nkose Mkubwa, their great chieftain. And they see the prisoners. They're fine. The women will be fine, and take the two warriors, and they are royalty, and get rid of them. So they are led up to the top of a cliff, where there's this massive waterfall, and they are going to be thrown off to their deaths off the cliff. But Danel and Natongo, they are brave and daring, and they get back, instead of being, as expected, having to, as their villains expect them to have to be forced off the cliff, to their deaths. While they're still back, they get a running start, and they jump way out and dive. They do that on their own and dive into the river, missing the rocks that were intended to be for them to fall and die on. And they get way out there, and then they swim underwater to the side into a thicket overhanging the water, so that they are not seen, and their enemies think that they have died. So they wait till nightfall, slip back into the city, and sneak in, and there's a yappy dog. Oh, they're going to be giving. It's going to give them away, but they're friendly to the pup, and the pup stops barking. So, we're going to have to take this pup with us. Okay, so they're sneaking on into the palace, trying to get to the palace, wanting to sneak in, but it's guarded. So they slip the doggy into inside the gate, and as a distraction for the guards, he accidentally knocks over their lamp while they're trying to get the dog out of the gate, and that's when Danelle and Notongo come in and knock those guys out. They take their weapons and armor, slip on in farther, silently taking care of guards along the way. And then they get led to the where the big chief sleeps, and take him prisoner, make him hostage. They free all the prisoners, and as they slip through try to slip out, and then when confronted by warriors, they bargain their way out with the king, with Nkosi. And but then they said, well, they're trapped at the river. They can't. The drawbridge is not down, and they can't get away. So what they do is they swim. They all swim. They even force the king across the river with them, and they're swept downriver, away from any pursuit, and they get off to the other side to the trail. And that's where they are met by more buffalo riders. They hold the king, hostage, and say, "Let us pass." The king gets a little loose and orders them to attack. And so they are about to be attacked when suddenly it's an ambush. Yes, Danelle and Notongo's army has arrived there, and they ambush the buffalo riders just in time to save everyone, and all the captives are freed, and their enemies are pushed back to their own country, and everyone goes home safe and sound. A well-done story, well-crafted story. That's one thing I've been kind of harping on lately, is a well-crafted story. Some of the newer writers don't seem to understand how to craft a story. It's one and done. It's a well-told one story, one and done in one issue. I don't know if they can do that these days. But, and of course, I wanted to mention this really nice. They're all nice. George Wilson painted cover. He did such a marvelous job. If there hasn't been a book reprinting his a lot of the covers that he has painted over the decades, there should be, because he just did a marvelous job for ages. So that's all I've got to share with you this time, Brothers of the Spear. I always liked them. I liked them especially when Russ Manning was drawing them in the backup, and I liked Jesse Santos, his work on it as well. And until relatively recently, I just in the last few years, I didn't realize that Dan Spiegle had drawn several issues. And he is always good. So thank you for joining me. Please like, share, and subscribe. Do let me know what you think of Brothers of the Spear. Ha ha. And remember, comics are art.